Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. It's been a while, and that because there's a lot been going on in the world. I'm doing this video on Sunday the 29th. It is after several main actions have taken place by my friends, the Israeli Defense Force. Yeah, those are some bad dudes, man. And I was explaining to a couple people that what Israel is doing to Hezbollah in Lebanon is exactly what Netanyahu said he was going to do to them. He is on record and quoted as saying to Nasrallah, who has he took a dirt nap, man. I'll come back to that. But Netanyahu said to Nasrallah, look, take a look at Gaza. Take a look at Gaza. And you guys, meaning Hezbollah, which Hezbollah controls the southern half of Lebanon, and the Christians have the northern half of the country, including lots of Beirut, the northern part of Beirut. Hezbollah has the southern part. Well, they used to. The Israelis blew the fuck out of it. Well, I'm going to say it was either 10 or 15,000 pound daisy, what we call in Vietnam the daisy cutters. Daisy cutters, because when you drop one of those in triple canopy jungle and you look down, you now have an LZ for about a bunch of helicopters. That's what that thing does. And it was reported that Nasrallah did not have any wounds on his body, which means he was killed by the concussion. And I'm telling you, the concussion from an explosive that big, you're going to die. You can't run, nothing. And the reason that Israel did not deploy those kind of things in Gaza is because they had hostages down below. And Israel, it's like the bad guys putting mines out. It slows the enemy down. So the hostages are merely a minefield to force the Israelis to slow down, because they knew the Israelis were going to come for them in Gaza. The people in Lebanon, the Hezbollah in Lebanon, major miscalculation, because there are no hostages in Lebanon. There are no hostages that Hezbollah has. So Israel just had their way with them. Right? They killed. Now think about this. Imagine if an enemy of the United States took out the president and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of every organization in the Pentagon, including the Pentagon. So imagine instead of the Pentagon being there as a hole in the ground, that is what Israel just did to Hezbollah. Iran, who is their sponsor, now Hezbollah is not a sovereign nation. Lebanon is. But Lebanon's military is so weak, it cannot do anything about Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is also a political party. They actually have seats inside the parliament of Lebanon. So that's like the movie Alien. I mean, you can't take it out because yeah. That was the result of the civil war when the Muslim Brotherhood came into Lebanon, which used to be known as the Beirut, was the Paris of the Middle East. But Lebanon was all Christian at the time. The Muslims came up through the Muslim Brotherhood, started a civil war, and bloody. They massacred Christians. And I'm an atheist, but you can't be about massacring people because they don't believe what you believe. That's what Islam does, and that's what Hezbollah did. And the reason Hezbollah took the southern part of Lebanon, because they could have said, well, we take the north, is because the border of Lebanon borders Israel, and Lebanon's stated purpose is the destruction of Israel. Understand, the destruction of Israel. Iran can't say that because they're a sovereign nation and they're part of the UN, blah, blah, blah. They can't say shit like that. So they sponsor people. Now that the largest military organization in Islam has been decimated. Both Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in the north. Iran is sitting there with their dick in their hand trying to figure out, well, now what do they do? Well, they got the memo because they put the Ayatollah down in the ground. I don't know how deep he is, but I can tell you that if Israel wants him, they can take him. You can't dig a hole deep enough that they can't get you. And then today, in line with that, the U.S. had airstrikes, our airstrikes, on Syrian targets run by Iran. So we're sending a message to Iran. Excuse me, this is still our guy over here. And we're just going to make sure you can't fuck with them. And we're about to do the same thing to the Houthis so they can't overwhelm Israel. But what does this all mean now? Well, the last time the Arab nations, and Iran does not refer to themselves as Arab, they refer to themselves as Persian. Fuck that, you know. I mean, it's stupid. But what happens when Iran no longer has a surrogate? What happens next? Because the Islamic world, the Muslim world, is getting ready to take a big L from non-Muslim countries again. The last time, remember Crusades, remember a bunch of stuff. What will Iran do? Iran is not powerful enough to act on the bluff or the bluster that they have. I mean, they're just not. They could be eliminated. What happens to the rest of the world? Well, the European countries that are kicking Muslims out, kicking Islam out, are getting the message. They're saying Islam is not compatible with our culture, and we are not going to convert to Islam. We are not going to enable Sharia as law, any kind of law in our country. If you don't want to accept our culture, then don't come here. That's the message that's starting to happen in Europe. And a lot of the folks that are liberal, woke, I'm using those terms derogatorily on purpose, they don't know what to do with that, because all they see is a bunch of brown people being harassed by white people, and they're calling Jews the white people, and the Europeans the white people. If you're against Islam, then you are a right-wing fanatic, and that can't be farther. Now, so there are some right-wing fanatics that don't like Islam, but they don't like Jews either. They don't like black people either. Those are the crazy white supremacists. I'm not talking about them. They're such a small minority in the world that it is not a factor. What I'm concerned about are the Muslim actors in the world, and what are they going to do now? What are they going to do now? You know. Now let me come back to Nasrallah not having any wounds on his body. I was in the cavalry, air cavalry. I flew Cobra gunships in Vietnam, 2 tours back to back. That's all I did every day is kill people and put warheads on foreheads. And sometimes the warheads came from B-52s. And we would call them up and we'd say, hey guys, and this is Air Force, right? Because they don't even fly B-52s. They're out of Thailand, no. So they come over and say, you got anything for us? Yeah. But that was ahead of time. And so we're on the radio and we hear the words that strike terror in your heart, right? This is on guard, which means everything with a radio is listening. And you hear the words, arc light, arc light, arc light. Stay clear. 5 nautical miles between this grid and that grid, because we're getting ready to drop some heavy shit. And that's, you know, I'll put that in there. But you got 3 B-52s, 3 flying over, and they're just gonna dump their load. Those are 500-pound bombs. Lots of them, 500-pound bombs, and they would turn the jungle into fucking sand, man. And our job, when we called one of those arc lights, we had to go out. We had to go out and well, did we kill anybody? Did we blow up anything? That was our job too. So we went out there and looked. And I remember rolling up on this dude, and the jungle was sand, y'all, sand. I'm thinking there's nobody alive. But sitting on a log right in front of, and I was riding shotgun in a scout helicopter that day. There's a guy. He's sitting, a bad guy. All he's got on is his diaper, right? And he's got his head in his hands, blood coming down, his ears and out his nose and out his eyes. But he's just saying his head in his hands. I'm going, what the hell? Long story short, that's what concussion from a bunch of 500-pound bombs. There were logs that were, like 2 feet thick that they had made their bunkers out of. You see what I'm getting at? Nasrallah was down, and they dropped, I don't know what it was, man. I'd like to know. No one survived. That's how they were able to take out him. If you were around there, you didn't survive. Now, Hezbollah's not telling all of that. My point is to come back to Israel and what the Arab world is, or the Muslim world is up to. The Muslim world, led by Iran, cannot let this stand. We pretty much decimated their puppets. Who's going to come in next? Turkey. Turkey fucked us in Desert Storm because they wouldn't let us use their airspace to attack a Muslim country. Their premier, Erdogan, is a staunch Muslim person, and he is quoted as saying more than once, there's no such thing as moderate Muslim, moderate Islam. No such thing. There is only Islam, and you must follow the Quran verbatim. That's the head of a country in NATO, Turkey, right? And they're a nuclear country. So stand by for the boom. It's going to be interesting. And with that, if you like this content, subscribe, hit the bell icon, because I don't know what's happening. And as always, wherever you can, whenever you can, however you can, carry on.